Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss misallocation and productivity. This paper made by Diego Restuccia and Richard Rogerson refers to the inefficient use of resources in an economy and how this is related to the total factor productivity. Why some countries are richer than others.
The authors follow the line proposed by Prescott and Jones when they said that this is mostly explained by the differences in total factor productivity.
From this point, they provide two approaches to misallocation that they found in the literature: the direct approach and the indirect approach. The direct approach consists mostly in choosing one or more factors that are empirically considered important to the misallocation, like taxes, public policy, or most important, the credit market.
After choosing the source of misallocation, obtain direct measures of the factor and use a model of heterogeneous production units. This to quantitatively assess the extent to which these factors generate misallocation and impact aggregate total factor prod.
Different authors have studied different sources of misallocation in the economy following this direct approach. For example, Gunnar et al. Study how what they term size-dependent policies lead to misallocation in a version of Lucas' span of control model, studying how tax rates should be adjusted depending on the size of firms, but how this does not work in firms in undeveloped countries.
On the other hand, we found the indirect approach. This approach is conscious that in the real life, there are some potential sources of misallocation that are not measurable,
but have a great impact on the misallocation in the total factor of productivity, focusing on the net effect of the bundle of underlying factors on misallocation without reference to any specific one.
What this means is that this approach mostly identifies the factor that creates wedges in the first-order conditions of establishment optimization problems. This suggests that for some issues it may be useful to focus on the wedges rather than on the underlying source of the wedges.
In the indirect approach, we have found different authors. For example, Restuccia and Rogerson consider a simple version of the Hoppenheim model, assuming that each establishment faces an idiosyncratic, proportional tax rate on output, with the proceeds funding a lump sum transfer to households.
They found that high values of these taxes can discourage economic activity, leading to lower capital accumulation, lower labor supply, and hence lower output, but would not necessarily show up as lower total factor productivity. But by these mechanisms, they got that it does generate a lower output of the economy, except when the tax rate was optimally located.
In conclusion, there is still much work to be done in order to assess the potential role for misallocation and the specific channels through which misallocation occurs. But until nowadays, the results are well telling about what policymakers and firm owners do in order to improve the total factor productivity, avoiding misallocation.